Cheers, welcome back to another episode of Riffin with HB. Cheers, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Riffin with HB. Today we're doing the Hollies, a British rock band. They were formed in 1962, I believe. Yes, sir, 1962. We're going to get into it. Got about 5 people here. Gives people just a second or two to join in. And we got some pretty good facts on them. We'll go ahead and get through the facts of the bands, and then we'll do some fun facts. And then we'll just go on and we'll talk about them. Pretty straightforward episode for this one. If you guys have any questions or anything along the way, just ask. I got you guys pulled up and on chat here so I can see everybody's comments. And thank you all for being here. Hope you're all having a good Saturday. Remember, join us after the show for Jam Sesh. We meet up on Discord and then we'll do a Zoom link for us to all be able to meet up and play together. All right, the Hollies, 1962, formed in Manchester, UK, United Kingdom. The name was inspired by Rock and Roll Buddy Holly, but people claim that that's not really the story. That it was actually just from a Christmas plant that he had in the house. Alan Clark, the lead singer and founder of the band. So that's the story. There's a little bit of discrepancy on that. The vocals: Alan Clark, lead guitar; Vic Steele, rhythm guitars and vocal; Graham Nash, bassist Eric Haydock, drummer John Rathbone. The current lineup consists of lead guitars and vocals Tony Hicks, drummer Bobby Elliott, both of them since 1963. Bassist and vocalist Ray Style, 1986 to 1990, and since 1991. Keyboards Ian Parker since 1991. Lead vocals and guitar Peter Howarth, and guitarist and vocals Steve Laurie. I'm sorry if I'm pushing these names, my guys. They were both in the band since 2004. All right. Cheers, thank you for being here. Appreciate everyone for being here. Cool, cool. Just known for the distinctive three-part vocal harmony, Alan Clark and Graham. Sorry, I didn't put his last name. Graham Nash founded the band. So this is what I was I just learned this actually this morning. Um, so they founded the band as a Mersey beat group in Manchester, although some of the members came from further up north. Nash left in 1990 or 68 to co-form Crosby, Stills, and Nash. So I was like, wow, it's a pretty cool correlation there. I never really knew about. Inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2010. The members included Alan Clark, Graham Nash, Tony Hicks, Eric Haydock, Billy Elliot, Frank Halbert, and Terry Sylvester. They are one of the few bands, sorry, anyway, from the 1960s that have never disbanded. Rolling Stones being another one of the bands we talked about this before. One of the bands that are still going to this day from that time period. They've had over 30 charting singles to reach the UK singles chart, 22 on the US Billboard's Hot 100, and 21 on the chart of RPM magazine in Canada, with a total of 21 studio albums, which is pretty crazy. To writing songs all the time. I didn't list the name of the albums because there's 21 of them. But you guys can go check them out. Look up their albums. I don't even have one to recommend for the Hollies. Um, the Greatest Hits album was the top selling album in the UK, so you could probably check out the Greatest Hits album. That would be a great place to start. Here's everyone. Thank you all for being here. Very much. I was talking about this with a friend. The Monkees, the Beatles. It's all that very similar sounding harmony music. The three choir harmony. I was thinking about this. I'm like, I don't know who's done it since then, but definitely the Beatles had a huge similarity to the style and sound of the Hollies for that time period, and that sound carried on for generations, 20, 30 years for sure. You still to this day, songs like "L.A. Woman" were still played. Um, or sorry, not "L.A. Woman," but "Long Cool One" and "A Black Dress." This is what we started this conversation for. The reason why I'm skipping ahead here, the reason why I got "L.A. Woman" in my mind is because we're doing the Doors next week. That's a request of Garrett from over on Mystics. So yeah. And then after that next week we'll be covering Marshall Tucker. That would be pretty interesting. You guys got any favorite songs by the Hollies for you guys, or if any of you guys want to see any other bands, just let me know in the comments. I should mention this one once. I don't want to get this wrong, but I wanted to highlight this. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing this right because this is what's cool about me doing the show is that I'm kind of learning with you guys on some of this stuff. Mirsay Beat, I think is maybe how I'm pronouncing this right. Or beat music is a high energy melodic pop rock genre that emerged in Liverpool, England in the late 1950s and peaked from 1963 to 1965. Hence why they're part of this wave because they were formed in 1962. It blends American rock and doo-wop and R&B with British skiffle, defined by its four-piece drum guitar lineup, close vocal harmonies, and a bouncy rhythm for sure. Served as the foundation for the British invasion. That's a great way of putting it. Very swingy, very dancey. Named after River Mersey in Liverpool, the genre was for the first time in the UK history a national successful music sound linked directly to a specific city. Pretty cool, right? Liverpool. Characterized by its chirpy, bouncy, and simplistic. Characterized as chirpy, bouncy, and simplistic, it featured melodic guitars, strong bass lines, and polished vocal harmonies. Developed in local venues like the Cavern Club, the scene was defined by intense competition and high energy live performances. Merseybeat was a local publication founded in 1961 that promoted these bands and was integral to the scene's development. Wow, pretty cool. The Beatles' quintessential band of the genre, whose 1962 to 1963 hits defined the sound. They all had an influence. It's just like today. A lot of bands sound similar because it's of the time. It's the same way that in the 90s, everybody had a particular sound, especially in the rock scene. Um, yeah, it makes complete sense. They're all influencing each other. That's what art is. You're watching somebody or something, and nothing you do is not influenced by something. So everything we do is influenced by somebody else, whether it's not even direct. You could be a painter and maybe you're not inspired by a painter, maybe you're inspired by somebody playing music or something. So it's vice versa, right? But definitely, you're in that time period, people were experimenting with different sounds of what they could do with guitars and drums and combining them together. It was experimental for sure. The Beatles went through tons of different phases. Sound was heavily influenced by American artists like Buddy Holly, a rock and roll revolutionist for sure, and the Crickets. Bands typically starting by covering American R&B and rock hits before developing their own material. Okay, neat. While it began as live, raw sound, it became synonymous with the polished, catchy British invasion, quote unquote, pop that dominated the early 1960s. Cool. Mercedes. Hope I'm pronouncing that right because it's not giving me a freaking pronunciation. Mersey or Mersey, Mersey, beat or beat music is another way to say it. Came out of the 60s. Because when we think Beatles, we think rock and roll, right? We don't think that that's really the style of music that they kind of helped shape the sound of. Super neat. Something I've learned, there's, which I kind of already knew, and I'm sure most of us already knew, there's so many different types of, rock and roll. Just in rock and roll, for example, there's alt rock, heavy rock. There's all these different genres of rock, and that's just in rock and roll. So much less when you start combining R&B with rock, what does that make? Does it make alternative, or is it something different? Is it alt rock? It's like totally different stuff. So again, experimental was the thing to do during this time period, figuring out what sounds you could get on your guitars with different effects, and this is with pedals before and during the time that pedals had started to be invented. It changed the distortion of the guitar, or better amps, better equipment. Because now people weren't just playing it in their homes; they were actually getting on stage and performing, and their sound needed to be better. So the equipment had to be better to catch up for the times. Just thank y'all for being here. 1 second, I'm pull up the Wikipedia here for you guys. Talk a little bit about the Nash departure here. In addition to his work with the Hollies, Graham Nash co-wrote Johnny Walker's first solo hit, Annabella, in 1967. Following the year, sang on the Scaffold's UK chart topper Lily the Pink. Not familiar with this. In August of '68, the Hollies recorded "Listen to Me," which featured Nicky Hopkins on piano. That proved to be Nash's last recording session with the Hollies. He officially left the group to move to Los Angeles, where he tentatively planned to become primarily a songwriter after a performer or after a performance in a charity concert in a London Palladium on 8th of December 1968. Nash told this magazine, "I can't take touring away anymore. Or sorry, I can't take touring anymore. I just want to sit at home and write songs. I don't really care what the rest of the group thinks." Well, cool. Right on, brother. After relocating to Los Angeles, he joined with the former Buffalo Springfield guitarist Stephen Stills and ex-Purge singer and guitarist David Crosby to form the supergroup Crosby, Stills, and Nash, which released Market Fresh Express as its debut single. The B-side of Listen to Me was Do the Best You Can, and wow, it's our fourth agreement. Check that out. The last original recording of Clark Hicks Nash song to appear on a Hollies record, all the Survival of the Fittest. Oh, pretty cool. 69 and 70. I mean, so many bands that we know and love were at the top of their game in 69 and 70 are just coming into the scene. Like we just mentioned, it's crazy that we don't talk about this. The Hollies made it as long as they did. They're still not disbanded after all these years, and just along with the Rolling Stones as well too. Pretty interesting. Oh gosh, we got the albums here. Stay with the Hollies. These are documentaries. Nope, these are albums. Stay with the Hollies, 1964, and the Holly Style, 64, Holly 65. Would you believe? There's so many albums. I'm gonna hold them up on the screen here for you guys. Um, Ton of different albums. So I would check out the Greatest Hits album. That's what I was checking out this morning. Pretty cool. I think we're gonna wrap it up right there. We're gonna get to the Doors next week. I can't wait for this. This is gonna be great. Cover. This is a lot more the wild rock and roll side of things compared to the tame Hollies. So we're gonna turn up the knob a little bit on the volume level, and we're gonna do a little bit of Doors, and then remember after that we're gonna do Marshall Tucker, and we'll see what we go after that. I have a couple other bands in mind. I appreciate you guys being here. Have a great rest of your day. Hey, join us over on the Mystics Discord channel, and I will drop the Zoom link for you guys, and we can jam out a little bit. Um, cool, and I thank you guys so much for your time and your support. If you guys have any bands that you want to see, remember drop them in the comments. And um, if I get anything wrong, correct me in the comments, and then if I feel like I've done the band injustice, I'll come back and I'll loop back around and name these bands. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for your time. I want you to have a great rest of your day. Um, keep riffing. Bye, everyone.